The desperate signal doctor. Sarah Chen rubbed her tired eyes as she stared at the endless stream of data flowing across her screens. The Deep Space Communication Relay Station orbiting Kepler 442b was humanity's most advanced listening post, designed to monitor the cosmic chatter of 100 different species. Most days brought routine trade negotiations, weather reports, and the occasional interstellar gossip. Today was different. The signal had appeared 3 hours ago on a frequency that hadn't been used in over 2,000 years. Sarah knew this, because she had spent the last decade studying dead languages and forgotten communication protocols. The ancient emergency band was supposed to be obsolete, replaced by modern quantum entanglement networks. Yet here it was, pulsing with desperate urgency. Commander Marcus Torres entered the communication bay, his heavy footsteps echoing in the quiet space. At 52, Marcus had seen action in the Titan Wars and bore the scars to prove it. His weathered face showed concern as he approached Sarah's workstation. "Still working on that ghost signal?" Marcus asked, settling his large frame into a nearby chair. "It's not a ghost," Sarah replied, highlighting sections of the transmission. "This is definitely artificial. Someone is broadcasting on the old emergency frequency, and they're using a dialect I've never encountered before." Marcus leaned forward, studying the waveform patterns on her screen. "Could be a trap. Pirates sometimes use old frequencies to lure salvage ships. That's what I thought initially," Sarah said, pulling up another display. "But the linguistic structure is too complex for a simple trap. This message contains emotional markers, philosophical concepts, even poetry. Whoever sent this spent considerable time crafting it." The door to the communication bay slid open with a soft hiss. Ziktar entered, his 4 insectoid arms carrying multiple data tablets. The 6-foot-tall alien had joined their station 2 years ago as part of an interspecies exchange program. His compound eyes immediately focused on Sarah's screens. "Dr. Chen, I could not help but notice the frequency you are monitoring," Ziktar said, his mandibles clicking softly as he spoke. "That is the sacred band of the ancients. My people used it during the Great Scattering." Sarah spun in her chair to face the alien. "You recognize this frequency?" "Indeed. When the Hive Collective was young, we learned of this channel from older species. It was reserved for only the most desperate situations, when extinction threatened entire civilizations." Ziktar moved closer to the screens, his antennae twitching as he examined the data. "This message, it is not in standard Galactic. The syntax resembles Old Harmonic, the language of the Gentle Ones." "Gentle Ones?" Marcus asked. "A peaceful species, from the Outer Rim territories," Ziktar explained. "They have not been seen in the inner systems for centuries. They were said to be the most pacifistic beings in the galaxy, refusing even defensive weapons." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "Ziktar, could you help me translate this message?" The alien nodded, settling his lower arms on the console while his upper limbs manipulated the data. For the next hour they worked together, cross-referencing linguistic databases and ancient texts. Slowly, the alien message began to take shape. "By the 7 moons of harmony," Ziktar whispered as the translation appeared on screen. "This is a plea for salvation." The message was simple yet heartbreaking. "To any who hear this, we are the last of the Gentle Ones. The Devourers have found us again. They hunt us across the stars, consuming our worlds, enslaving our children. We have fled to the orphan system at the galaxy's edge. Our ships are failing, our people dying. We know none will answer, for who would risk themselves for strangers? Yet we broadcast this message as our final act of hope. May the cosmos remember us kindly." Marcus stood slowly, his jaw set in determination. "How long ago was this sent?" Sarah checked the timestamps. "Approximately 18 hours. Given the distance to the orphan system, it would take any response. At least 3 days to reach them." "Commander," Ziktar interjected, his voice filled with concern. "You cannot be considering a response. The Devourers are nightmare beings, apex predators that have terrorized the galaxy for millennia. They are why most species avoid the outer rim territories. Marcus moved to the main communication console. Dr. Chen, can you trace the source of this transmission? Already done, Sarah replied, displaying a star chart. The signal originated from the Orphan system, approximately 4 light-years from our position. And how many ships do we have available for a rescue mission? Sarah and Ziktar exchanged glances. Commander, Sarah said carefully, we're a research station. We have 6 science vessels and a single escort frigate. 7 ships total, Marcus mused, against an unknown enemy in hostile space. He activated the station-wide communication system. All senior staff to the command center, Priority Alpha. 20 minutes later, the command center buzzed with activity. Captain Elena Rodriguez had arrived via emergency shuttle from the nearby mining colony of New Gibraltar. Her reputation as a tactical genius preceded her, along with stories of impossible victories against overwhelming odds. The situation is clear, Marcus addressed the assembled officers. We have received a legitimate distress call from a peaceful species under attack. They're requesting immediate assistance. Chief Engineer Robert Kim shook his head. Sir, with respect, we're not equipped for combat operations. Our ships are designed for research and exploration, which is exactly why we might succeed where military vessels would fail, Captain Rodriguez interjected. The Devourers will expect conventional tactics. They won't anticipate scientists fighting back. Dr. Janet Walsh, the station's xenobiologist, raised her hand. What do we know about these Devourers? Ziktar activated a holographic display showing shadowy creatures with multiple appendages and bioluminescent markings. They are silicon-based life forms, highly aggressive, possessing natural armor and enhanced physical capabilities. They reproduce by consuming other species, incorporating their genetic material. Wonderful, muttered Lieutenant Chen, no relation to Sarah. Space vampires. How do they typically attack? Captain Rodriguez asked. Swarm tactics, Ziktar replied. They overwhelm their targets through sheer numbers and ferocity. Their ships are grown rather than built, making them unpredictable in design. Captain Rodriguez studied the data thoughtfully. Their advantage is biological adaptability and numbers. Our advantage is technology and tactical innovation. She turned to Marcus. I assume you've already decided we're going? Marcus nodded grimly. The message said they expect no one to answer. I intend to prove them wrong. Sir, Chief Kim protested, the risks are enormous. We could lose everyone. And if we do nothing, Sarah said quietly, an entire species dies. These gentle ones have done nothing but exist peacefully. They deserve a chance. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. They were researchers, not warriors. Their vessels carried scientific equipment, not weapons, yet something about the desperate message had touched each of them. I volunteer to accompany the mission, Ziktar announced, surprising everyone. My knowledge of the Outer Rim territories and ancient languages may prove valuable. Ziktar, Marcus said gently, this isn't your fight. The alien's compound eyes focused on the commander. When the Hive Collective faced extinction, other species offered sanctuary. We survived because someone chose to help strangers. Now it is my turn to repay that debt. One by one, the other officers volunteered. Within an hour, they had assembled a rescue fleet of 7 ships with volunteer crews totaling 200 humans, and Ziktar as their guide. The hastily organized fleet launched 8 hours later. The lead vessel, a converted research ship now, designated UES Determination, carried the bulk of their defensive modifications. Chief Engineer Kim had worked miracles installing makeshift weapons and reinforcing hull plating with mining equipment. As they entered hyperspace, Sarah found herself on the bridge of the Determination, watching the stars stretch into lines. Captain Rodriguez sat in the command chair studying tactical displays with intense concentration. Captain, Sarah said, can I ask you something? Of course, Doctor. Why did you agree to this mission? You could have refused, claimed it was outside your jurisdiction. Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. My grandmother used to tell me stories about the old country. about neighbors who looked out for each other despite having little themselves. She said the measure of a person wasn't what they had, but what they were willing to give up for others. She gestured toward the view screen showing the swirling colors of hyperspace. These gentle ones are our neighbors now, Doctor. The galaxy is smaller than we think. In his quarters, Ziktar meditated on the decision to join this unlikely rescue mission. His species had evolved from hive insects valuing collective survival above individual heroism, yet something about humanity's immediate response to help strangers resonated with deeper philosophical principles. The humans fascinated him. They were clearly predators, evolved from hunters with forward-facing eyes and omnivorous diets. Their bodies were built for endurance and conflict, their minds for competition and innovation. Yet they had chosen to risk themselves for complete strangers of a different species. Perhaps, Ziktar thought, this was what separated true predators from mere killers, the ability to choose when and how to use their strength. The fleet would reach the orphan system in 36 hours. Whatever they found there would test every assumption about cooperation, courage, and the true nature of strength in an unforgiving universe. Predators meet apex predators. The orphan system lived up to its name. 4 dead planets orbited a dying red dwarf star, their surfaces scarred by ancient bombardments. No mining colonies, no trade routes, no reason for civilized species to venture here. It was the perfect hiding place for refugees. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Determination as her fleet dropped out of hyperspace. The tactical display immediately lit up with contact signatures scattered throughout the system. Multiple vessels detected, reported Navigator Thompson. Configuration unknown, but they're big. Dr. Sarah Chen worked frantically at her communication station. I'm picking up that emergency broadcast again, but it's much weaker. The source appears to be there. She highlighted a cluster of asteroids near the system's edge. Those aren't asteroids, Chief Engineer Kim said, studying the sensor readings. They're ships. Dozens of them, all linked together. Ziktar moved to the tactical station, his compound eyes analyzing the data. The gentle ones construct their vessels from living coral. They grow their cities and ships as single organisms. His antennae twitched with concern. But these readings show severe damage. They are dying. What about the other contacts? Rodriguez asked. Lieutenant Morrison, the Marine squad leader who had volunteered for the mission, pointed to several large signatures moving between the outer planets. Those matched the profile for Devourer vessels. Silicon-based, no symmetrical design, and they're moving in hunting patterns. Rodriguez studied the tactical situation. The gentle ones had taken refuge in an asteroid field, using the rocky debris as camouflage. The Devourers were methodically searching the system, closing in on their prey. It was a race against time. Open a channel to the refugee ships, Rodriguez ordered. Sarah worked her controls, finally establishing contact. The voice that answered was melodic, almost musical, but filled with exhaustion and despair. Unknown vessels, you must flee this place. The Devourers will consume you as they have consumed us. We are grateful for your presence, but we cannot ask you to die for us. Rodriguez keyed the transmitter. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call and have come to help. Can you identify the speaker? There was a long pause. When the voice returned, it carried a note of wonder. I am Elder Whisper, last leader of the Gentle Ones. You came. After all this time, someone actually came. How many of your people survive? Rodriguez asked. Fewer than 10,000 spread across 37 vessels. Our coral ships are failing. Without the song gardens of our homeworld, they cannot regenerate. Elder Whisper's voice grew weak. We have perhaps one day before our life support fails completely. Rodriguez turned to her officers. Options? We could attempt an evacuation, suggested Dr. Chen. Transport their people to our ships. Negative, Ziktar interjected. The Gentle Ones are symbiotically linked to their coral ships. Separation would kill them within hours. Lieutenant Morrison studied the Devourer movement patterns. We need to buy them time to escape, but there's no way 7 ships can fight what looks like 50 Devourer vessels. Rodriguez smiled grimly. Then we don't fight them conventionally. She activated the fleet communication system. All ships implement Protocol 7. We're going to give these predators a taste of what apex predators can do. Protocol 7 was Rodriguez's own creation, developed during the mining colony conflicts. Instead of engaging the enemy directly, they would use the environment itself as a weapon. The Determination and her sister ships moved toward the outer planets using their scientific sensors to map gravitational fields, magnetic anomalies, and radiation patterns. What the Devourers saw as empty space, human scientists recognized as a complex web of natural forces waiting to be exploited. Chief Kim, I need you to overload the plasma collectors on research vessels 3 and 5, Rodriguez ordered. Ma'am, that will create cascade failures in their power systems. Exactly. The explosions will look like ship deaths to the Devourers. Meanwhile, those vessels will be playing dead while launching sensor probes. The first phase of the plan worked perfectly. The Devourers detected the apparent ship explosions and moved to investigate, expecting to find debris and survivors to consume. Instead, they found strategically placed sensor networks that began feeding information back to the human fleet. Now we know exactly where they are, Rodriguez announced. Time for Phase 2. The human ships began broadcasting on multiple frequencies, creating false signatures and phantom contacts throughout the system. The Devourers, evolved to hunt by sensing life signs and energy emissions, suddenly found themselves surrounded by impossible readings. From the asteroid field, Elder Whisper watched in amazement as the small human fleet seemed to multiply into dozens of ships. How are they doing this? Ziktar, monitoring communications from the Determination, explained to the Gentle Ones. Humans are natural pack hunters. They use deception and coordination to take down prey much larger than themselves. The Devourers responded as Rodriguez had hoped. Confused by the false signals, they broke formation to investigate individual contacts. This divided their forces and exposed them to the humans' real trap. All ships target the gravitational anomaly near Planet 4, Rodriguez commanded. Full plasma discharge, synchronized firing. 7 ships unleashed their modified mining lasers at a specific point in space. The concentrated energy struck a naturally occurring gravity well, destabilizing it and creating a massive spatial distortion. 3 Devourer vessels were caught in the effect, crushed by gravitational forces beyond their ability to resist. The remaining Devourers regrouped quickly, realizing they faced intelligent opposition. Their leader, High Devourer Krath, broadcast a challenge in the ancient hunting language. Clever prey, you fight well for food creatures, but you cannot escape. We will devour your ships and add your strength to ours. Ziktar translated the message, adding, The High Devourer is issuing a formal combat challenge. In their culture, this means single combat between champions. Rodriguez considered this. What happens if we win? The remaining Devourers would be honor-bound to withdraw. But Captain, their champion will be their strongest warrior, enhanced by consuming countless other species. And if we lose? They consume everything in the system. Rodriguez didn't hesitate. Accept the challenge. I'll be our champion. Captain, no. Lieutenant Morrison protested. Send me instead. This isn't about physical strength, Lieutenant. It's about proving that humans are apex predators too. The single combat took place on a small moon between the 2 fleets. High Devourer Krath was a terrifying sight, standing 12 feet tall with natural armor plating and forearms ending in razor-sharp claws. His body showed the incorporated features of dozens of consumed species. Rodriguez wore a standard combat suit with limited armor. She carried a plasma rifle and a monofilament blade. By any measure, she was outmatched. The fight began with Krath charging forward, expecting to overwhelm his smaller opponent through brute force. Rodriguez sidestepped at the last moment, using the Devourer's momentum against him. Her plasma rifle fired repeatedly, targeting joints in his armor while she stayed mobile. You fight like prey, Krath snarled, adapting his tactics. Always running, never standing firm. I fight like a human, Rodriguez replied, launching herself onto a rocky outcropping. We don't need to be the biggest predator, we just need to be the smartest. The battle continued for 20 minutes with Rodriguez using terrain, tactics, and technology to overcome her opponent's physical advantages. When Krath finally fell, defeated by 1,000 small wounds rather than one devastating blow, he looked up at Rodriguez with something resembling respect. You are not prey, he admitted. You are apex predators like us. But why do you hunt for others instead of yourselves? Rodriguez knelt beside the dying devourer. Because the strongest predators protect their pack. The gentle ones are part of our pack now. The remaining devourer ships withdrew as promised, disappearing into the outer darkness. The immediate threat was over, but the larger implications were just beginning. Elder Whisper met Rodriguez aboard the Determination 3 days later. The coral ships had been stabilized using human technology, creating a hybrid system that allowed the gentle ones to survive away from their homeworld. Your species has done something unprecedented, Elder Whisper said, his crystalline form shimmering with gratitude. You came to help strangers with no expectation of reward. Actually, Rodriguez smiled, we got the greatest reward possible. We made new friends. The rescue fleet returned to human space with the gentle ones, but news of their victory had already spread. Other species began to take notice of humanity, some with admiration, others with concern. In the depths of space, other predators listened to the story of how prey had called for help, and apex predators had answered. The galaxy was about to become a much more interesting place. As the UES Determination docked at the Kepler 442b station, Dr. Sarah Chen reflected on the mission's success. They had saved 10,000 lives and proven that compassion and strength were not mutually exclusive. Doctor, Ziktar approached, her at the communication station. I have been thinking about your species since our return. What conclusions have you reached? Humans are indeed apex predators, Ziktar said thoughtfully. But you are also the first predators I have encountered who choose to hunt injustice rather than the innocent. Perhaps this is what the galaxy has been waiting for. In the months that followed, more distress calls would arrive. More species would learn that when they cried for help in the darkness, apex predators would answer, and the galaxy would never be the same.